You're literally flushing money down the toilet at the grocery store. That organic label you trust? For certain foods, it's the biggest scam in your kitchen, and the foods you should be buying organic? You're probably skipping those completely. Let's start with avocados. And honestly, this one might save you the most money. Here's the thing. Avocados have the lowest pesticide residue of any produce tested. We're talking less than 1% of samples showing anything detectable. 1%. Why? That thick, bumpy skin you're throwing in the trash. It's basically a suit of armor for the fruit inside. Whatever gets sprayed in the field, it never reaches the creamy green goodness you're actually eating. But here's where it gets frustrating. Organic avocados cost 30 to 50% more. For what? The exact same nutritional content. The exact same taste. You're paying extra for a label on something you literally peel and discard. Even the USDA agrees with me on this one. Their own testing consistently ranks avocados as the cleanest conventional produce available. The government is telling you to save your money here, folks. My advice? Buy conventional avocados when they're firm as rocks. Let them ripen on your counter for 3 to 5 days. You'll get perfect avocados and keep more cash in your wallet. Now, avocados aren't the only produce with built-in protection. The next one? Nature literally wrapped it for you. Sweet corn. Nature literally wrapped this one in its own packaging. Think about it. You've got the husk, then the silk, then another layer of husk. It's like corn is paranoid about something touching it. And that paranoia, it's saving you money. Over 90% of conventional sweet corn tests completely clean. 0 pesticide residue, not low levels. 0. Whatever farmers spray in the field hits the husk. The husk goes in your trash or compost. The kernels inside, totally untouched. But here's what really gets me. At my local farmer's market, organic corn costs double. Double for something that's already protected better than a celebrity's phone number. Now, want a real insider tip? Buy frozen conventional corn instead of fresh organic. Sounds backwards, right? Here's why it works. Frozen corn gets picked and flash frozen within hours. Those nutrients get locked in immediately. Meanwhile, that fancy organic ear traveled for a week before reaching your store. It's been losing vitamins the entire trip. Frozen conventional beats week-old organic. Every single time. The layers did all the protective work. Your wallet gets to relax. Speaking of protective layers, the next fruit takes this concept even further. That spiky armor you're slicing off? It's doing more than you think. Pineapples. 50% of what you're buying goes straight into the garbage. That spiky armor, the tough core, the crown of leaves you'll never eat. Half the fruit's weight is basically nature's bodyguard. And guess what? That bodyguard is doing its job perfectly. Federal testing of pineapple flesh? No measurable pesticide residue inside. None. The fruit's exterior takes every hit while the sweet part stays completely protected. But here's something most people don't consider. Pineapples are naturally acidic little fortresses. Bugs hate them. Diseases struggle to take hold. Farmers don't need to spray them nearly as much as other tropical fruits in the first place. So you're paying organic prices for a fruit that already required fewer chemicals and has built-in armor you're throwing away. Now, both organic and conventional pineapples fly in from Costa Rica or Hawaii. Same planes, same shipping time, same distance. The organic label doesn't make it arrive any fresher. Want to save even more? Canned pineapple and juice? Same vitamins? Fraction of the cost. My grandmother called that common sense. The real trick is buying conventional when the base smells sweet. That knows. I'll be honest. I thought these health rings were a scam. I bought one half expecting to send it back. But 3 months later, it hasn't left my finger. And it does way more than I expected. Sleep, activity, heart rate, recovery and stress, all from one little ring. The thing that helped me most? I realized my afternoon coffee was quietly wrecking my sleep. One small change, cutting it off after lunch, and within a week, I was sleeping like a rock. Now here's why I'm telling you this. Right now, the ring's 63% off, just $60 if you grab it through the link in the description or scan the QR code on screen. There's a 90-day money-back guarantee if it's not for you, but I'm keeping mine. Up next, a vegetable where the processing itself does what organic certification tries to accomplish. Frozen peas. Here's something the organic industry hopes you never figure out. Those little green spheres go from vine to frozen solid in under 3 hours. That's faster than most fresh vegetables make it from farm to grocery shelf. And here's where it gets interesting. Before freezing, every batch gets blanched. Quick dip in boiling water. This process strips away surface residues more thoroughly than any amount of scrubbing at your sink. So the very processing that preserves them also cleans them. Organic certification is trying to prevent something the manufacturing already eliminates. But wait, there's more. Fresh peas start losing vitamin C the moment they're picked. Every day in transit, another chunk of nutrition gone. Frozen conventional peas? Locked in at 95% of peak vitamin content. Meanwhile, those fancy organic fresh peas sitting in the produce section for a week? They're basically vitamin C ghosts wearing green costumes. My buddy spent $12 on organic fresh peas last spring. Told me they tasted earthier. I told him that's what disappointment tastes like when it's expensive. And remember, the pod you're not eating anyway? That's the only part that ever touched anything in the field. Speaking of peeling away problems, onions have layers of built-in protection that make organic premiums genuinely wasteful. Onions make you cry. They also make organic marketers cry because there's almost nothing to sell you on. Here's the deal. Less than 10% of conventional onions show any detectable pesticide residue. And that tiny amount? It's sitting on layers you're already throwing in the trash. But it gets better. Farmers barely spray onions in the first place. Those same sulfur compounds burning your eyes right now? Bugs hate them even more than you do. Nature built onions with their own security system. My neighbor grows onions in her backyard. No pesticides, no fertilizer, nothing special. They look exactly like store-bought conventional. Taste identical too. That's because onions basically protect themselves. And here's what nobody mentions. Organic onions often look worse. Little holes here, some discoloration there. Without conventional treatments, minor pest damage happens. You're paying extra for cosmetic imperfection. The outer papery skin, those first couple layers you peel off anyway? Gone. Whatever microscopic residue existed just landed in your compost bin. Store conventional onions in a cool, dark spot. They'll last 2 or 3 months. Same as organic, same taste, same nutrition, half the price. Next up, cabbage takes this natural protection concept even further. Cabbage might be the most ignored vegetable in your grocery store. And honestly, that's where your savings are hiding. Here's something farmers won't advertise. They barely spray cabbage at all. The dense head structure creates its own fortress. Pests take one look and think, not worth the trouble. But there's actual science behind this. Cabbage produces natural compounds called glucosinolates. Fancy word, simple concept. These chemicals taste bitter to insects. Nature basically gave cabbage its own bug repellent built right into the leaves. The math gets ridiculous. Conventional cabbage runs about 60 cents per pound. Organic? $1.50 or more. You're paying almost 3 times as much for a vegetable that barely needed protection in the first place. And here's what most people forget. Those outer leaves you peel off? They absorbed whatever minimal treatments farmers applied. 2 layers gone, problem solved. My grandmother made coleslaw every Sunday. Regular cabbage from the regular store. She lived to 93, made it through the Depression, 2 wars, and never once worried about organic certification. Sauerkraut, coleslaw, stir-fry, doesn't matter how you prepare it. Conventional delivers identical nutrition, identical taste, identical probiotics. Speaking of fast-growing vegetables, asparagus has an even stranger reason why organic is pointless. Asparagus is basically the Usain Bolt of vegetables. These spears can grow 7 inches in a single day. 7 inches. That's faster than some kids during a growth spurt. And that speed? It's actually your wallet's best friend. See, pesticides need contact time to actually stick around. But when a vegetable shoots up that fast, chemicals barely have a chance to settle in. It's like trying to paint a moving train. Farmers know this too. They apply way fewer treatments to asparagus than slow-growing crops because honestly, what's the point? By the time the spray lands, the spear's already moved on. Here's what the testing shows. Less than 1% of asparagus samples contain any detectable residue. 1%. Your kitchen sponge is probably dirtier than conventional asparagus. And that woody bottom part you snap off before cooking? That's exactly where any trace amounts would hang out. You're already throwing it away. Problem solved before it was ever a problem. My father used to say never pay extra for something nature already figured out. Asparagus figured this out millions of years ago. Now mushrooms take this whole concept even further. They don't just grow fast. They grow somewhere pesticides don't even exist. Mushrooms don't even play the same game as other vegetables. While everything else on this list grows in fields where pesticides get sprayed, mushrooms grow in dark rooms, climate-controlled buildings, basically fancy warehouses. Their soil isn't soil at all. It's pasteurized compost, sterilized straw, materials that have been heat-treated to kill anything that might cause problems. Why would a farmer spray chemicals in an environment that's already clean? They wouldn't. That's the point. Here's what cracks me up. Organic mushrooms cost almost double the conventional ones. Double. For a product grown in nearly identical conditions. The mushroom doesn't know the difference. Your body doesn't know the difference. Only your wallet feels it. And those dirty dozen lists that scare everyone about produce? Mushrooms never make the cut. Testing finds them among the cleanest foods you can buy. Period. Now, here's a fun fact. White button mushrooms, cremini, and portobello? Same exact mushroom, just different ages. The baby is white. The teenager is cremini. The adult is portobello. You're welcome for saving you from that overpriced gourmet portobello marketing. But papaya, that's where things get genuinely interesting. Because this fruit has a backstory that sounds like science fiction. In the 1990s, Hawaii's papaya industry was dying. Literally dying. A virus called ring spot was wiping out entire farms. Farmers watched their livelihoods rot in the fields. Then scientists did something controversial. They genetically modified the papaya to resist the virus. And it worked. The rainbow papaya saved an entire agricultural industry. Now here's the twist most people miss. That built-in disease resistance means farmers spray fewer chemicals. Way fewer. The plant protects itself instead of relying on constant pesticide applications. So organic papaya? It actually requires more intervention because it can't fight off diseases naturally. The conventional Hawaiian papaya is essentially self-defending. But wait, there's more weirdness. Most organic papayas come from Mexico. Longer shipping times. More post-harvest treatments to survive the journey. Meanwhile, the GMO Hawaiian version arrives fresher with less handling. That thick skin you scoop the flesh away from? Already doing the protection job you'd pay extra for with organic certification. The edible part never touches whatever was sprayed on the outside. Look for papayas that yield slightly near the stem. That's your ripeness indicator. Now kiwi. That fuzzy little fruit is hiding a dirty secret. Or rather, a surprisingly clean one. That fuzzy exterior isn't just weird-looking, it's working overtime. Kiwis consistently test among the cleanest fruits available. Less than 1% show any pesticide residue in the actual flesh. The fuzzy skin acts like Velcro for anything sprayed during growing. And guess what? You either peel it off or eat around it. Here's something most people never consider. New Zealand kiwis travel over 7,000 miles to reach your grocery store. That's true whether they're organic or conventional. Same planes, same boats, same carbon footprint. You're not saving the planet by paying extra. The fruit's natural acidity creates an environment where pests struggle to survive. Farmers don't need to spray as heavily because the kiwi basically handles its own security. Like that friend who always volunteers to be the designated driver. Buy conventional kiwis that give slightly when you press them. Store them in your fridge, and they'll last up to 4 weeks. That's longer than most relationships I had in college. Organic certification adds $1 to $2 per pound for protection that's already built into the fruit's design. Now let's flip the script entirely, because there are 5 foods where organic genuinely matters. Starting with the worst offender on the list. Strawberries. Finally, a fruit where spending extra actually makes sense. These little red guys top the dirty dozen list every single year. And it's not even close. Conventional strawberries average nearly 8 different pesticide residues per berry, not per batch, per individual berry. Here's why strawberries are different from everything we've covered. That soft, porous skin works like a sponge. Chemicals don't just sit on the surface. They sink right into the flesh you're about to eat. There's nothing to peel, nothing to discard. You're eating the whole thing, residues included, and they grow inches from the ground, right where soil treatments, fungicides, and insecticides concentrate the most. It's like setting up a tent directly under a sprinkler system. Think washing helps? Barely. Studies show rinsing removes maybe 20% of what's there. The rest already penetrated the surface before you even brought them home. Here's what convinced me personally. Researchers tracked kids who switched to organic strawberries. Within 1 week, pesticide metabolites in their systems dropped measurably. 1 week. Buy organic when they're in season, or grab frozen organic, which costs less and locks in the nutrients at peak ripeness. Now, apples. And trust me, this one's worse than you'd expect. Apples might be America's favorite fruit. They're also getting sprayed more than a toddler at a water park. 47 different pesticide applications. That's the average for a single growing season in conventional orchards. Not 47 sprays of one chemical. 47 separate applications of different chemicals throughout the year. And here's what makes apples tricky. The skin is where all the good stuff lives. Fiber, antioxidants, vitamins. Peel it off to avoid chemicals, and you're basically eating expensive sugar water. Keep it on, and you're eating the exact spot where residues concentrate. It gets worse. After harvest, conventional apples get a nice wax coating. Looks shiny, looks appealing. Also traps whatever's underneath directly against the fruit you're biting into. One study tested conventional apples after thorough washing. 98% still contained at least one pesticide residue. Washing helped, but not much. Europe actually banned one chemical commonly found on American apples. Diphenylamine. We're still using it. I switched to organic apples 3 years ago, costs about 30% more. But my kids eat these things daily, sometimes 2 or 3 a day. That math starts mattering real fast. Speaking of things kids eat constantly, spinach is next. And it's somehow worse. Spinach absorbs pesticides like a sponge absorbs water. Actually, worse than a sponge. Here's the number that stopped me cold. Conventional spinach contains nearly twice as much pesticide residue by weight as any other produce tested. Not slightly more, almost double. And there's nowhere for those chemicals to hide from you. Think about it. Big flat leaves with maximum surface area. No skin to peel, no husk to remove, no rind to slice off. What gets sprayed gets eaten. It gets better. Spinach grows right at ground level. Every time the field gets watered, soil treatments splash directly onto those leaves. The plant is basically bathing in whatever's in the dirt. 3/4 of samples contained permethrin. That's a neurotoxic insecticide, the kind with warning labels longer than a phone charger cord. But here's what really bugs me. Those pre-washed bags everyone buys for convenience? Often worse. The crinkled texture of baby spinach leaves creates tiny pockets that washing machines can't reach. You're paying extra for the illusion of clean. Raw spinach in salads means raw chemical exposure. Cooking helps some, but organic helps more. My recommendation? This is one green worth the green. Now, bell peppers. They've got problems too. Different problems, worse in some ways. Bell peppers look tough. That shiny, waxy exterior seems like it should protect something. It doesn't. That thin skin is basically decorative. 50 different pesticides get used on conventional bell peppers during a single growing season. And that waxy coating? It actually traps chemicals against the surface instead of letting them wash away. Here's the kicker. Hot peppers naturally repel bugs. Capsaicin, the stuff that burns your mouth, burns insects too. But sweet bell peppers? They bred that defense mechanism right out of them. No heat means no natural protection. Farmers have to compensate with chemicals. 89% of imported bell peppers tested positive for pesticide residues. Not some, not half. Almost 9 out of 10. And unlike an avocado or a pineapple, you eat the whole thing. Every bite includes that thin skin where everything concentrates. Red, yellow, orange peppers aren't different varieties, by the way. They're just green peppers that ripened longer. More time on the vine means more exposure to whatever's being sprayed. My move? Buy organic when possible. Or go domestic conventional when organic isn't around. Now grapes. These might be the sneakiest problem on the whole list. A single grape can contain residues from 15 different pesticides. 15 on one tiny fruit. And here's the thing. Grapes have incredibly thin, permeable skin. Whatever gets sprayed doesn't just sit on the surface. It soaks right through, like a sponge sitting in chemical soup. The sugar content makes them pest magnets. Bugs love sweet things. So do molds. So do fungi. Farmers have to spray constantly just to get them to harvest without rotting on the vine. But wait, it gets worse. Imported grapes from Chile? They often contain chemicals that are literally banned in the United States. Legal there, illegal here. Yet somehow still ending up in your fruit bowl. Funny how that works. Washing helps a little. Maybe removes a fraction. But when chemicals penetrate the skin, your kitchen sink isn't solving that problem. And if you think fresh grapes are concerning, let me introduce you to raisins. Same grapes, same pesticides. But now concentrated, all that water evaporates out, leaving the chemicals behind in a shriveled little package. Buy organic here, especially for kids who snack on these like candy. All right, let's wrap this whole thing up.